What's up, Variant Nation? Tim and I had to jump on here real quick because they just released a 6-second teaser ahead of the second trailer release for The Batman. Tim, you're excited. You know I'm excited. I'm like...
Sirens are going off everywhere.
Now, I know it's only 6 seconds, so people will be like, why are you fanboying out so hard? Because it's freaking awesome, okay? I don't care.
Yeah.
Batman is my number one in all of fiction.
Fair.
Pattinson, we get to hear Pattinson's voice. Really good in the 6
Solid,
seconds.
yes.
And Tim.
And there's one line.
So one line, yes.
One line in the entire teaser. It's not just a signal. It's a warning.
Dude, that such a brilliant line. I'm calling it now. It's going to be up there with "Wanna Know How I Got These Scars." Like I think so it's going to be like one of those lines where everyone quotes it for years to come.
It's just such a brilliant tease to put out there because that one line, is just a freaking great line.
It's just a really great line.
It's just a great line.
So dope's on Matt Reeves because he wrote the script or co-wrote the script.
Exactly. Just really, really solid line. But the bigger part of it is that it so perfectly gives you the tone,
Sets the tone
of what this is going to be. Like the first trailer did a really good job of that also, telling you this is going to be a psychological thriller type, very different version of Batman that we've gotten to date. But that line right there, it so perfectly sets a tone and tells you what Batman is going to be in this movie and in this world.
He's vengeance.
Yeah, dude. And it couple that with that scene in the first trailer where he's just going to town and just wailing on that dude who comes at him. And it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be.
It's just
he's gonna be a savage.
It just makes, because I believe this is the second year of Batman. Because Matt Reeves didn't want to do the first year. He wanted to do where like he's already Batman, but he's still very new. So he's in his like, he's almost in his prime. I feel like, when we get a sequel, because we're probably gonna get a sequel. I think Matt Reeves said early on that this is a trilogy, or at least he has a trilogy in mind. There'll probably be some kind of time jump, and then we'll be like 5 years in, and that's Batman in his prime. But either way, man, like it just the red and the black from the little teaser they released on social media, it's got that Batman animated vibes, which we talked about before. And it's just gonna be, I think it's gonna be a very dark detective noir, psychological like thriller almost, which is. That's great, man.
The color palette is so good.
Yeah, because it's for me, it's Batman animated, so there's no better color palette than black and red that you could do for Batman. For me, because that's straight up Bruce Timm, Paul Dini.
But it gives it that horror element to it.
It does.
It gives it that. And we were saying this just before we came on, and again, we had to jump on very quickly and just give you guys our thoughts on this and just be excited with you because we know everybody's like freaking out right now. But the thing I said to you is that. This reminded me so much, or at least it confirms that much more, that this is going to be almost like a Seven meets Batman.
For sure.
In its tone and its approach, to where it's going to come at you and it's just going to look to grab you by the face for 2+ hours.
Well, early screenings of it, people who got to see it were saying that Paul Dano, who plays the Riddler in this movie, is the scariest villain they've ever seen on screen for Batman, where it's basically psychological horror.
It's crazy.
And that, man,
that's exciting.
That says, because Paul Dano's a fantastic actor.
Oh, excellent,
too. Yeah. People have seen him in his other stuff. Man, I just can't wait to see his portrayal of the character, because I'm just excited to see his portrayal of the Riddler than I am for Pattinson as Batman, because as we know, what makes Batman so good is his villains. Like the reason, like especially in the case of The Dark Knight, like you could pretty much say that movie was only as good as it was because Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. I think most people would agree. Like you take him out of the movie, it's just like a okay movie, but with it, one of the greatest, superhero movies of all time.
He made the movie.
For sure.
Yeah.
He was the highlight, and still what people talk about to this day. Again, want to know how I got these scars?
Right.
All that stuff. So, if we get an equally good performance out of Pattinson, which I think is very, very plausible, the thing that we get from these 6 seconds, or even from the trailer we got last year, is just by looking at him and hearing the tone and the way he chooses to deliver things, you could feel like the vengeance in his eyes. You could hear the pain, the sorrow, because this is a guy who lost his parents when he was very, very young, and that like set him off. He like put him down this very dark path where he's like, oh man, like it broke him, and now he's going out to make sure that doesn't happen to anyone else. So, and you just get that in these subtleties, which just is a testament to like how good Pattinson is most likely going to be at this role.
For me, that one scene in the first trailer we got, and we talked about it when that came out back in last year's DC Fandom, that one scene where you see him walking through the church at what appears to be a funeral of some kind, and where they just, that tight shot on Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, and that look in his face, that for me was what said, took any reservations I had about Pattinson as Batman or Bruce Wayne, it totally blew them away, because the look of pain, but also that look of vengeance in his face.
Yeah.
Because this is almost like Batman Year One, right? This young, raw Batman is all of his rage
is new still.
Is still fresh.
Yes.
And he's looking to take it out on somebody.
Right. He's not really jaded yet or anything. Yeah. He's just out to get people.
He's that young, like fresh and like just rage-driven, vengeance-driven vigilante. And that coupled with like that other part that we just talked about where he just absolutely destroys this guy who comes at him. That element of it, I think, is going to be one of the most compelling aspects of this. And this line from this teaser, it's not just a signal, it's a warning. I mean, just you couple these things together.
It's one of the greatest lines I've heard for Batman. And this is definitely
that might be one of the best live action lines I've heard from Batman, period.
Well, I'm calling it. This line, much like, again, I keep referring back to it because it's another iconic line now, the "Wanna Know How I Got These Scars," is going to be referenced throughout Batman mythology now.
I think
you're
so
probably
too.
going to hear a writer adapt it, put it into the comics, maybe a video game. Like, it's just, that is now forever going to be an iconic Batman line.
Yeah. Which is why it's the title of this video. Yeah, because that is an absolutely brilliant line, and it was the perfect thing to release just before Fandome and the new trailer.
Because it's only 6 seconds. You don't get video; it's just audio on a really cool, animated bat signal.
And his voice,
dude.
Pattinson's. We get a lot more of Pattinson's voice. I know we led with that, but just to emphasize, I love the sound of his voice that he's doing for Batman. Yes. They're not using the voice the synthesizer the way they did the modulator or whatever that they did for Ben Affleck. It certainly isn't Chris Nolan's Batman.
No.
What's his name?
Oh my gosh, you made me forget his name. You made me forget his name. Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Thank you, God Almighty. Yeah, it's not Christian Bale's growl.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Yeah. It just is the perfect. It sounds so far like a great balance.
Well, because you know what? It's funny because people were like, I can't believe you're dissecting one line so much, but you really can, because in that one line, you get pain, anger, sorrow, and like vengeance. You get that. You feel that in the delivery from it, where it's like he's angry yet still hurting. But still, he wants that vengeance. Which again, Batman animated fan, I am vengeance, I am night, I am the night, I am Batman, and this has that all over it.
And we know from what Matt Reeves has told us before that he's drawing inspiration from classic Batman stories like Hush, like The Long Halloween especially, but also from things like Batman the Animated Series.
Well, he's working on a new Batman animated series with Bruce Timm
J.J. Abrams,
and J.J. Abrams.
Timms and Paul
and Bruce Timm, obviously, one of the masterminds for Batman animated. It's called the Timmverse for a reason, for the Batman animated universe. Yeah. So clearly he's using that heavily in this. And I'm sure like us, he probably grew up watching that stuff and his teenage years or whatever. Yeah, so he's a massive Batman animated fan. So I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. And like you just said, and just what we said right from the outset, like that one line, this tiny little 6-second teaser sets the perfect tone, tells us exactly what we have coming this coming Saturday on for Fandome, because that trailer, if this is what we're getting as a teaser, imagine what the new trailer is going to be.
I can't even imagine, because I was already super stoked for the trailer.
I think they're about to blow things up.
I know, and they're going to end with this for a reason. This is like the closing, the headlining band, if you will, for Fandome. So I can't wait.
It's gonna be freaking awesome. So this was a great appetizer for DC Fandome here just a couple of days. So we definitely wanted to jump on
for sure
and just give our thoughts, but also let you guys know, we're jacked up too.
And we're gonna be right back here after DC Fandome to talk about the actual trailer, the Black Adam teaser or trailer, all the other stuff we're gonna get from Fandome, which is a lot.
Stuff,
That's gonna be a long podcast.
Yes, it will.
So
and we'll be covering a lot of this stuff and doing like real time takes on our social media platforms too. So be keeping an eye out for that this coming Saturday, October 16th. It's going to be fun. But until then, Tim, what does Pattinson say? It's not just a signal; it's a warning. It's a warning.